Alright everyone, welcome back. I'm at the bar and I got my Glock 9 and my SD9. I got the bullets I'm going to use on them and target right there. I'm going to do left side of the SD9, the right side of the Glock, and let's see what happens. I shot the SD9 first. Looks like I needed to warm up a little bit with spread. But once I got warmed up here, I went to the Glock left, but I'm getting used to those sights, so let me just keep shooting because I'm going to shoot all of these bullets and then some, and I'm going to try to see if I can pull in a certain area and see what's consistent as far as shooting. So 50, 50, 50, so 100 each, and I'll split this half, and we'll see what kind of results we get from the same target, 7 yards. Alright everyone, I'm cutting back in, and SD9 on the left side, the Glock 17 on the right side. And so right now, I haven't shot this, first time I ever shot this Glock. I've gone through 50 rounds each, and SD9 just all over the place, but at 7 yards, this is the target area, what it looks like. Glock 17, very tighter, not much around here. I would suspect these are SD9, just because as I've been shooting it, I've been watching where I'm shooting, and it's always hidden in this very tight area. And I'm not somewhat just shooting a little bit rapid, a little bit slow, taking time, but I'm going to speed it up on the second portion of the 50. I'm going to do a little bit more rapid fire, and let's see how that comes out overall. Alright, back in. I finished the last 50 rounds here. So 50 rounds, moderate fire, 7 yards with the SD9. See, I'm all, but generally I'm hitting here, 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 a little bit below. Hit this thing, but I'm always hitting a little bit low. I think it has to do with the trigger. The triggers really put the gun down. The Glock, on the other hand, Glock 17, I'm always aiming over here, even in rapid fire. I'm not too low. It's generally this whole area. I made a hole here, so this is where I'm hitting all the time. It's just, for some reason, a little to the left. And there I go. The last bit right here, the half I'm going to put in here, I'm going to hit the bottom targets here. I want to take it all the way down range, and I want to see if I can hit inside these circles all the way down range, which is about 15 yards. Let's have a look. Alright everyone, I'm coming back in here and finally finished with the Glock here. There we go. Finished with the Glock, finished with the SD9. 15 yards, loaded 5 rounds each on each. On the 7 yards, I loaded 10 rounds each, just to kind of going back and forth and shooting. And let me see, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the SD9. If you look at it, it's just spread. I think I shot a lot low, so it doesn't show up. The Glock 9 shot a little higher and to the left, which is kind of typical what I've been doing here. To the left, a little higher, low, and all over. But here I got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more, a couple more, but 5 probably really the Glock SD9, but there's a lot that just anyways, let's cut out and I'll get back home and this the rest of my review here on the SD9 and the Glock 17. Glock. Alright everyone, welcome back. This is just the cut in for the SD9 versus the Glock. So, Have Gun Will Travel series. I'm going to compare the two guns here. Let's go ahead and I already got using this backpack already. So I left it in the case and everything. I don't have a holster for it yet, but eventually I will get a holster. Or the collapsible nylon or something. There you go. Glock. That's a Glock box. And then in this here, I've got the SD9. So basically, I've compared the two. And let's just compare it. So this is what I normally carry. Yes, it typically is loaded. You can see that it's gotten a little dirty from firing. And let's do the Glock comparison. Let's see here. Let's just open it up. Let's just open it up for now. Just leave that open. Nothing in here. This little loader works really well. You put it in. Let's see if you see that. Works really well, and you know, it also works not as well, but it works on this too. So you can put that in there. Make sure that there's some wiggle room in here, as you can see, but if you get it there, it's already loaded all the way. I got all 16 in there. So this is kind of handy. This is really handy. It does help load faster. So one nice thing about purchasing a Glock, you'll get one of these. So this is empty, of course, but so let's compare. I'm going to compare these two guns here because there is a difference. There is a difference. Okay, and first thing I notice, the spring on this is really, it does have quite a bit of tension versus the Glock 17, which it's about the same, but this feels a little bit easier to do versus the SD9. It just seems to feel like a little further pull. Feels like it anyway. It's probably not that much of a difference, but it. So that's the first thing I noticed, and the second thing is the grip on here is smaller, so it does feel smaller versus the grip on the 17, which feels bigger, especially right around here. So the sights are a little bit different. It has this little U shape. They're both, well, this is pretty much fixed on the front, maybe slightly adjustable on the rear, but I haven't changed it. Same thing with this, is adjustable front with an adjustable back, but both seems like they made of plastic or something. But I haven't adjusted these at all. This is the way I got it, and this is the way I shoot it, and I feel comfortable the way it is out of the box. So the size of the barrel is a little bit longer on the G17. Okay, so it's a little bit longer, but at 7 yards, at 15 yards, is that much of a difference? I don't really think so. I don't think that much of a difference is going to make or break you. Let me see, I'm just looking at the barrel. They're probably about the same size. It's just that one's darker, so it looks smaller, and the other one's brighter, so it looks larger. Talking about the ring here versus this. So because they both shot the same bullets. I bought, I don't know what they are, the Remington whatever, but I used the same rounds, same bullets on both of these. So 250 rounds. So 100 at 7 yards. Taking my time shooting, getting the sights to go and work. So on the SD9, I really feel a lot of it has to do with the trigger. It just a lot of pull. Feels like a lot of pull, and then you just got to keep pulling and pulling and pulling, and then it'll, you know, strike. And then the reset, it's a lot more to travel, and then it feels like, you know, I feel like I have to pull quite a bit, and it does affect, because I've been shooting low, and the way it's set up, you have to pull right here. You can't, you know, it's not like you put your finger in. Of course you can, but anyways, the way I was holding it, I was two hands, and I was doing this to make sure I got a good pull, but I always seem to shoot a little bit lower for some reason. And I think it's just because that extra pull that you have to do, that travel, all that traveling you have to do, it just, and you have to push down. Seems like you have to push down like this. It almost feels like you have to do it with this gun. So that's why I was shooting a little low, and it's a little bit all over the place. And I think the spring and the recoil, really, it's a little bit more than the Glock. And I'll take this apart a little bit. 7 yards with this, it is bigger, it is longer, the barrel is longer, but the trigger on this, it's a lot lighter, because see, all I have to do is just pull right here, and then right when I hit this tension, the wall right here, it breaks, and then reset is right there, and then I'm at the wall again. So I can see why this, is it more accurate? If I shot more accurate with this, that's for sure. I did shoot a lot more accurate. You could see it in the at 7 yards, just taking my time at the first 50 rounds. 50 rounds this, 50 rounds that. You can see this shot accurate. A little bit more rapid fire. Now, new out of the box, I haven't even cleaned or oiled this yet. It's only barely had maybe 200 rounds in it. This literally had, out of the box, 125 rounds out of the box. I haven't oiled it yet. It worked. No misfeeds on either. Nothing. So there's not an issue of the bullets or the gun, but this just shot more accurate for some reason. And I think a lot of it does have to do with the trigger, because the trigger just, you hit up, you squeeze it, and you hit that wall, and then the resetting of it, not that far. And so rapid fire, taking your time, I can see where you would get a lot of accurate, and you just have to squeeze, and then that was it. There is this little lever here that won't shoot unless you see it right there. That's about it. But if you just put your finger on it, it just goes away. Just putting your finger on it, and then the tension when you get to here, well, it's pretty much gone, allowing you to just pull the trigger a lot better, in my opinion. And I think that's probably one of the reasons, the accuracy, and I think the recoil seems to be shorter and not so aggressive versus this seems like a little bit longer for some reason, and a lot more movement in here, you know, versus this. Probably the same amount, but this feels like a little bit smoother, and maybe it's the spring, I'm not sure. So in the rapid fire, this did a lot better. It actually hit closer to the target, and I only loaded 10 at a time. So 10, 10, 10, 10. I would just go back and forth. I would rotate it. I would shoot here, reload and shoot, and then stop and reload the other one, and shoot and reload and shoot this one, and alternate, go back and forth, just to just to go back and forth on it. And also doesn't really heat up the gun that much if I take a break from one gun to the other. But in any case, I shot it just like I would. I had both eyes open at 7 yards. Even at 15, I had both eyes open the way I normally shoot, because I noticed I shot a lot better with having both eyes open and looking through the sights and onto the target. It almost like you can actually envision the bullet hitting the target where you want to. But it just shot a lot more accurate with this. So rapid fire still shoots a lot accurate. I think a lot of it does have to do with the trigger, and maybe the bigger handle, which gives me a lot more control over the gun, versus the SD9, which it does have a smaller handle now that I've been holding onto this. This does feel smaller, but that's alright. Other than that, I mean, this was a little bit all over the place. There's no wall you hit and then you pull the trigger and breaks. You just have to keep pulling and pulling and pulling until it actually strikes. And I think that's why I'm shooting a little low, even though I use 2 fingers. But I still have to just keep pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling, and by the time it gets to a certain point, it just lends itself to do this a lot more, you know, because it feels like you have to pull down onto it, or if you have it here, you know, you just won't get a good. You just have to keep pulling all the way to the end, like literally all the way to the end, and then the reset travels quite a bit. So I think that may be the reason why it shoots a little low for my hands, but it did shoot somewhat on target, shot in the general area, the body mass. If you look at the body mass, it would shoot in the upper chest area somewhere. I still think this is a great gun for entry level if you don't want a Glock or can't afford a Glock on your first purchase. And also this just fits well in my fanny pack. It actually fits in here versus the G17, which it does fit in here, but it like leaves a kind of like a bulge, and it misshapes the fanny pack into a weird odd shape with it, where it looks like there's something in there. So I probably won't be carrying this too much. If anything, the G17, the Glock 17 would probably be more of an open carry, you know, sidearm for me. I'll still transport this gun everywhere, wherever I go. I'll take it. I'll transport this gun. It's part of my collection now. But I wouldn't necessarily carry or conceal carry. I'll definitely transport it. I'll carry it by transporting it. But I wouldn't necessarily have this in my carry and conceal, you know, travel system that I have, because it's just a little too big, unfortunately. Next one, I might get the 19, and if that's a little smaller, I'll test that out. 19 versus the Smith & Wesson SD9, because that might be size-wise a little bit comparable. Maybe the size did have a difference. Longer barrel, more accurate. I don't think it was that much of accuracy, but this SD9 did shoot all over the place. So And finally, when I got to the 15 yards, 15 yards, difference of 1 bullet. Now I only loaded 5 in each, so I only loaded 5. Took 5 shots. Took my time too. I wasn't rapid firing. At 15 yards, it's quite a bit of distance for a handgun. If you're that far away, you may not want to really take a shot, depending where you are. 7 yards, definitely. You double that, you may not want to take a shot because you might miss and hit somebody else or hit something else. But I did notice I was low on this as well. I was probably low. I didn't see it because of the way target's set up. But I hit 5 within those circles, the larger circle area. And then with the Glock, yeah, I would say it hit, I mean, inside the circles, it hit 6, 1 more in my hands. But I can actually tell that I was hitting the paper because it was high or to the left, just like how it was on the very similar to where it was at 7 yards, mostly to the left, shooting a little left. But I did shoot high. I could see where it was going. So this shot a little bit higher, maybe because just the way I was aiming it. But I could tell that it's possible to hit, center mass at 15 yards with this. I could see that. I couldn't really see much with this because it was probably shooting low. And so with this particular handgun in my hands, it shot low, where this shot a little high at 15 yards or to the left. This a little low all over the place. But comparison-wise, there's no doubt you can hit center mass with both of these guns. It's just the Glock 17 was more accurate. I think a lot of it has to do with the trigger, and I think the bigger handle, actually. The bigger handle did make a difference. It gave me more to grip, and although I had both hands on both of them, I was holding both hands on both of them. I even had both finger on the trigger just to give it a good squeeze and pull. But the trigger does make the trigger on the Glock, I think, does make a difference. And then I do believe the spring in this, because the way it it just felt like this had more controllable recoil versus this. It just felt like this a lot. Maybe it's because the way I was gripping, or maybe not, I'm not sure, but it just felt like it did this a lot more. Like whenever time I fired it, just the recoil was, and let's take a look at it real quick. So there's the spring on an SD9, okay? Very similar inner workings. There's a spring for the Glock 17. So you can see the dirtiness, where it gets dirty really well on here, but same area. If you look at it, almost the same. The way it looks and operates, very similar. But the spring, I don't know. It just seems like this just slid a lot more easier than this for some reason. Barrel length, well, you could really see the barrel length difference. So there is a difference in the barrel length, and that might have been a factor. But it just this felt a little bit smoother on the recoil than this, and maybe because it's a little bit longer, has a little bit more weight to it, and that might be a factor. So as far as the two as accuracy, let's go ahead and just see if I can take the barrel out of here. So here's the two barrels, and there you go. It is, what, half an inch longer, and that might have been the difference. That might be the ultimate difference between this. And you know, I swear this looks I don't know, maybe it's my imagination. This should be the same hole, same size. Yeah, same size. So this is slightly more, well, more accurate than this. That's all I gotta say. That's how, let's look at the springs here. SD9 here. Should be the same, but I'm not sure if it is. But for some reason it just felt, the recoil on the SD9 felt a little bit more than on the Glock 17. And maybe because it is a longer barrel and the travel doesn't seem so violent. So, well, that's that on those two. Ouch. And putting it back is just as easy as it was to take off, even easier. Just slide it on through. The inside, very similar. I'm not going to get too much into it. Maybe because it is longer, the recoil doesn't seem that bad. Versus the SD9, smaller length, a little bit more recoil. At least it feels like there's a lot more recoil. Amazingly slides in pretty much the same. Just okay. So overall, between the two guns, I'll still buy one of these every year. They're so inexpensive. For me, the Smith & Wesson SD9VE is just that, VE, value enhanced or value addition. I would consider this a disposable handgun because I'll leave it behind. I'll sell it to a dealer so I can go on forward needing whatever I need to do. It's so cheap I can just buy another one and I don't have a problem with that. So this is a gun that I would travel with more often than my Glock and actually have it on me. Because I know this is so inexpensive. If I lose it, gets lost, broken, damaged, stolen, whatever, or I just can't have a gun where I'm going and I just need to get rid of it, not a big deal with this. Versus one of these, well, if you need to go somewhere and this is preventing you from getting there, I guess you're not going to go. You know, I mean, if money's not an issue, then this could be your disposable gun too. But since it does cost more, almost, you know, I wouldn't say double, but almost 1.5 times more, or at least 1 3/4 more than this. This being less and more. I wouldn't travel with this as much. If anything, if I know I'm going someplace, I'm staying where I know I can have a gun, this is the gun I would have. And I would probably have a open carry because this is kind of the gun you want on your side, ready to go. It's really accurate and also very expensive. So those are the difference between the two that I've experienced with the SD9 and the Glock 17. I still carry this gun because it fits in my fanny pack perfectly. Where this is just a little big. So I might try a 19 later on and compare it to this and see how that goes. So anyways, you know, feel free to, I'm going to conclude this episode. Feel free to like, dislike, leave a comment or a video response. Until next time, stay tuned. Bye.